it is and can be an ineffable experience. Ineffable meaning difficult to describe, especially with somebody who has never experienced psychedelics before. On the psychedelic piece, a lot of people, when they hear psychedelics, they think visual. Psychedelic has many components, auditory, a lot of different sensory elements. For me personally, my most profound ceremonies don't have a lot of visuals, but my ceremonies do, and many people's ceremonies are psychedelic. So I just wanted to start there so that conception is cleared up, that it is a psychedelic. Some people have very clear visions. They can very clearly see maybe elements of nature, animals. Some people can very clearly see or even hear people in their life, or maybe even people that have been passed on. And so those are psychedelic experiences within the space. And then also our preparation for ceremonies. I know, for example, if I am drinking quite a bit of coffee, even coffee on the day, my visions are not as clear. And so there is a preparatory aspect that we walk all of our guests through. I think a lot of times the difference between coming to a retreat and having a profound experience and 5 years from now saying, oh yeah, I did ayahuasca once, or 5 years from now saying, I did ayahuasca once and it changed my life. And I'll give you a little hint, really, you changed your life and ayahuasca was a tool that you used to get there, is whether we integrated the experience. And so we take a lot of care and love and attention on preparing people from the moment you call to accept the invitation if given, to the time you get to the retreat. There is preparation. We follow recommended dieta. That isn't just what we consume, it's also what we consume by digestion, but also what we consume. What do we watch? What are we listening to? The people that we're putting into our lives, are they raising our vibration? Are they cleaning and clearing? That way, when we show up to ceremony, we can have those profound experiences. And then post-ceremony is that integration piece, the piece that is really the shift in our lives. And so when your friends say they have a hard time describing it, for each individual, it can be very different. Some people go through a very physical experience. Some people go through a very emotional or mental. I even have very logical experiences where it says, hey, did you know this about yourself? And I'll say, no, I did not. And it goes, and this is why. Did you know that? No, I did not. Would you? And here's the patterns that you have because of it. Okay. Would you like to keep doing that? No, I would not. All right, now go change. And then that's my homework, and my integration is doing that piece. And that's how I have that everlasting change. So in ceremony, when you're asking what is the experience like, depending on our connection with the medicine, it can be very physical. Some people know exactly what was clean and cleared and what they may have healed from and let go of forever. And some people, and this is also a blessing, may not know what was cleaned or cleared, and they just feel a lot better and lighter and maybe more clarity and focus and potentially a bigger heart.
As you first approach the medicine, you're going to hear about it from friends and people. And I'm not even the biggest fan of the word psychedelic in combination with ayahuasca, even though it technically is. It conjures imagery of it. In my heart's opinion, a psychedelic is a device by which to check out of reality, experience an illusory reality. Ayahuasca is the true present moment. So, it's so easy to live in the past or the future, especially if we live in modern societies on headphones and Zoom calls and things like that. Ayahuasca draws us deeply into the present, and when we're drawn deeply into the present, what a scientist might describe as a hallucination is truly a vision. And under the right circumstances, there's also a number of factors that need to be true for that to be a pure thing for people, not just where you go, like us, but your particular calling into the space. Nobody who hears about ayahuasca on a Friday can have deep intention when they sit Friday night, right? There needs to be a little bit of time to feel connected, and that connection needs to be yours alone. And while we will feel outside influences, ideally from friends. I've probably brought more people to medicine than almost every human being alive. I've only ever told one person one time ever, you should go to medicine. If it's not for me to say. That's a bridge that you cross. So when we're in that space, one of the reasons they can't articulate it is because we're drawing the mind, body, and spirit into presence. Many of those things, like Sarah said, might be very practical and understandable. Like, oh, I did this when I was 12, blah, blah, blah. Other things might be more physical, and it's likely going to be a combination of all of those things. Like, every noun must exist in mind, body, and spirit somewhere. The way I look at the medicine is that when we sit with the medicine in integrity and respect, with some surrender and humility, a safe space, my highest goal for people is that draws the abundant of their highest self. And when you're embodying your highest self more potently in time, yes, this tends to heal all of the things, or a significant amount of the things that would disalign you from your highest self. You might realize that you're a jerk, right? You might realize there's plenty of people who have reasonable enough health who go to ayahuasca, who don't like red flag with any of our physical criteria. You talk to them 2 months later, I've been working out every day. Nobody told them to do that, right? But they realize that their spirit resides in their body. There's some people who work out every day who realize that they're not having compassion or empathy or presence. There's plenty of people who are in therapy before going to ayahuasca and stop, and just as many who begin afterwards because they realize that they need somebody to download and talk to. So I would encourage you, as you are pursuing it, one, to get a broad level of awareness, not even just with us. And rather than focusing on a specific goal of what it will be, focus on nurturing the feeling of surrender to that process and letting the unknown take place. Once again, that's something that requires intention, right? Like if you're skydiving, you should know who's flying the plane. But once you jump out of that plane, it's time to surrender to the process. Right? It's the point, trying to dictate what it is at that point. The medicine, and I say this, I use the word literally. I know people use this word very casually nowadays. The medicine is literally more intelligent than it's not the same intelligence. They can't call you June and James and Clara, right? But medicine speaks in these bold stroke energies that are in alignment. And if you go look outside at every single tree or plant outside, they have one thing in common. They are completely, totally, and always present. Water, no water, rain, you know what I mean? Heat, dry, fully present. And this is the most benevolent medicine on the face of the earth. It has a tendency to draw us into her intelligence while taking our own personal sovereignty. So hopefully that's not a too long-winded of a philosophical way to answer your question. In the world, there are a few what we would consider to be master medicines. Both of those qualify. Ayahuasca, significant, like they exist on different radio frequencies and different volumes of the radio station. But like speaking casually, both very benevolent, both highly intelligent, both more intelligent than us. Psilocybin tends to be more of a medicine of the mind, not in totality. And it tends to open up more of the heart space than you would see on your day-to-day basis. Ayahuasca is the medicine of the heart. Ayahuasca is the hope of the person. Not that the person couldn't bridge the gap to deep responsibility, acceptance, surrender, and forgiveness with the aid of psilocybin, without the aid of these medicines. But ayahuasca is truly the pathogen of the highest impact on the face of the earth. So that's what art was called. It also, and we probably also want to give somebody else a chance to ask the question. Medicines don't compete with each other, right? It's not which medicine is better. It's which medicine am I called to at what time and for what reason, right? And like different flowers in the same garden, they don't compete. All medicines all master medicines, power plants, power animals such as buffalo have a deep likelihood when we approach it with respect, with the element of safety and integrity in there, not just physical, deep safety of spirit, that we are drawn closer into alignment with our true self. While LSD might be a psychedelic and a very enlightening one, it doesn't have those same intrinsic properties, even though it might cause a similar effect.
One thing that I think as we gain experience with medicines, psilocybin is one where we can expand into a personal practice with psilocybin, whereas ayahuasca, even I will always work with a trusted and well-studied medicine man. And so that is another distinction between ayahuasca and psilocybin for me. I also do the Hawaiian prayer. I even teach it on retreat. I've even added a 5-step process to it to really expand our compassion to forgive people that we may have otherwise thought were unforgivable. And I have a dear friend that says the farthest distance we ever travel is from our head to our heart. And the mix of that Hawaiian prayer with ayahuasca just really can, I don't want to say miracles, but the mystery miracle of ayahuasca and that prayer is really beautiful. I am sure that you will meet me on the first day of retreat, along with our team. Our team, for example, in this last retreat, we had 10 people in our ayahuasca retreat and 9 of us humans holding that space. We have a care team and a medicine team. Part of the care team is what you would imagine being the daytime team, the people that make sure that you are well nourished, well rested, that you are having all of the tools to get your central nervous system back in alignment, to be in a state of calm and rest, to be at your best for ceremony. And then we have our medicine team. All of our medicine teams are incredible, well-studied, and they walk this path. It is their purpose and their practice and their passion. And in Costa Rica, we do work with several different styles. Styles isn't quite the right word, but we have the Shipibo, which is the Peruvian style, and we have the Brazilian Amazonian. We also have the Colombian Yahe, and then we have a medicine man, Venezuelan Piora. And each of them have a different style of ceremony. All of them are traditional. So when you come to any retreat with Behold, you are receiving a traditional ayahuasca ceremony. We always know who made the medicine, where the medicine came from, and how the medicine was made. And off the top of my head, all of them in Costa Rica are made by the medicine men themselves. It's a 5-day process. They sing their Icaros to them for 5 days, and then in ceremony do the same. And for the first few days, and so we go through a process of the week. First is the preparation. What tools do we use, both in life and in ceremony, that help us face challenges? And so we do that because not that everything in ceremony, just like life, is challenging. We don't generally need tools when we are in bliss. It's for when we reach a challenge, how do we make sure that we face it in a way in which we will move all the way through it? And so we start with those tools. There's yoga classes to make sure that our body, mind, and spirit are in alignment before ceremony. We have one-on-ones. Everybody, it's required to have a one-on-one, not just required, but it's also beneficial for individual care, individual treatment. And then as the retreat goes on, that can be requested at any time. And then after the first ceremony, we start with processing. And so a lot of things in ceremony are very clear. Some people after their first ceremony goes, I got a plan. Sometimes things need vocalization, and sometimes it's enough just for you to say it out loud or for you to write it down. But we start talking about processing tools. What are the ways in which you can get the most out of your time with the medicine? And then as the week continues, we move to integration. How do we take what we learned and what we experienced and what we felt and bring it into our life to make those everlasting changes? So we take so much care. It is just our blessing and our honor to walk people through this process. On the first day, we all gather in an opening circle. And so that's where we start the process of taking off our masks, showing up as our authentic self, being vulnerable. That can be tricky for some people. And so we go through that process slowly together. The next day is when we start with our conversations about preparation, right in the morning. And then that evening is our first ceremony. And I say, like in life, as in ceremony, life is a practice and ceremony is a practice. We go in with tools, and many people will come out and say, I threw all the tools out the window. And I say, okay, let's regroup. And tonight we go into ceremony again. And even when we throw out our tools, we still have lessons. We still learned, we still connected, but we go through it again. Okay, now let's go to ceremony again. And we go a little deeper, or a lot deeper. After 2 ceremonies in a row, we take a break. And in that day, in Costa Rica, for example, we go to a temazcal. We work on the reset. We take a full day. We have the conversations, one-on-ones. Really, I am never surprised by the connection of the group supporting each other, and then our team to support as well. And then on the following day is the 3rd ceremony. So we go to that 3rd ceremony, and then after that, we have another full day to integrate, to get centered, to get balanced. And then the following day, the retreat is over. We highly recommend that people stay in the country. So if you're in Costa Rica, stay in Costa Rica for a few days, pick a nice place that you feel comfortable to start integrating and grounding in before heading home.
As the primary guardian of ayahuasca, a person who holds space for other people, setting 100 ceremonies, I would never, ever, ever sit in ayahuasca without ceremony, and never sit without. Right? Specifically, you can do this with other sacraments. Not that I'm encouraging you to, but a person with a certain level of experience and bandwidth, knowing how to take care of themselves. I've done it before, 50 times, sat in Psilocybin ceremony myself. So this word might be a bit taboo for people, but the environment, even if you were to do that, the word I use is sacred. Like sacred and pure. Like even if someone was home with LSD or something like that. Doors closed, music soft, knives and sharp objects put away, right? A focal reverence on the experience. But ayahuasca is Bible medicine, right? So in order, like the first shape is a triangle, it has 3 points. You have to have at least 3 people in that space. I know it's not a circle, but to create a container of human beings. And those human beings come together in a safe and contained place with shared intention is to learn from that medicine. Just broadly is a ceremony. Of course, there are elaborate things that create a ceremony, icaros, rites of passage, right? Cultural traditions, particular interfaces with the medicine. But with any sacrament or with any psychedelic, even if it's recreational, I recommend, you might use different words for that for yourself. Do your best to create maybe not a ceremonial setting, but one that's sacred, meaning that's important and thoughtful to you. Because medicines don't negotiate. That's another thing, right? Like, nor does the ocean, right? So when we go into the ocean, we get a boat, and we get a life vest, and we have a good time, right? We learn how to swim before we jump in the water. There's certain prerequisites of intention and capability in that space, where drugs offer something different. Drugs say, hey, take me and figure out the rest later. So hopefully that's not too roundabout way of answering that question.
Daniel was speaking a bit about the difference of ayahuasca and psilocybin. I'd expressed that I'll take a medium dose of psilocybin and take a walk in nature. Ayahuasca to me is something, as Daniel mentioned, I will always do in ceremony and always with somebody that has a personal practice with ayahuasca that is strong. And a lot of times this doesn't resonate until after a first ceremony. I also, for psilocybin, for example, you might go home and say, I'm going to go take psilocybin and listen to Dark Side of the Moon. I'm going to take psilocybin and listen to some, I can't think of anyone from the 60s, but a brighter music. And that journey will be very different. In ayahuasca, we're working with a different plant teacher that I wouldn't experiment with music, because it isn't just music. It's a vibration that is coming into our system, and we are rewiring our brain. And for that, a guidance ceremony, I think, is very important and critical.
This might make sense to some of you in the future, but we're kind of working with ayahuasca right now. Right? We're just in the outfield. You're like, if the center of the vibration is like the center of the dartboard, we're way off in the distance where you can like smell it a little bit and feel the ripples. You could ayahuasca, yes, is a tea in a cup, kind of. That's simply the entryway to the benevolent energy, right? It's just the doorway. Same with the psilocybin. Psilocybin is a small fungus that one can hold in their hand. Is it? Like, are you just a body that you live in? Oh, all of these things kind of draw into a reverent and respectful place, even if we don't notice what we're doing. You know, the medicine demands these things. It's quite true. It's not circumstantial. Ayahuasca, for example, you need to abstain from hardcore drugs. There's certain states of physical fitness that aren't allowed. There's certain medications that people seek for the same reason that you seek ayahuasca. It's not circumstantial that ayahuasca doesn't allow these things. Because as ayahuasca draws you to it, and you medically drawn to it, you're empowered, you start to show respect to that medicine, which is not just a material substance, but a greater access to a benevolent intelligence. That, for some reason, like you guys probably all know, there's many plants on this earth that do not like you. Right? There's plenty of things that you can eat in the plant world that are poisonous to you. It'll give you rashes, that'll hurt you. Eat some mistletoe, eat some poison ivy, see how that goes. Right? Doesn't like you. Plants are intelligent that way. And ayahuasca, both the vine and the leaf, are remarkably intelligent. And they've shown time and time again that they're benevolent and remarkably more patient than we actually deserve. Right? Like the level of patience and ho'oponopono that ayahuasca has is more than any other noun that I've ever encountered in reality.
Absolutely. And I think, in summary, I do really want to stress the importance of it's not just the ceremony. It's everything before and everything after. And the container that's built, but also the dieta that you'll go through, the integration that you'll go through, the check-ins you'll have, the interactions you'll have. It's everything. It's not just the one night of ceremony, the second night of ceremony, or what song they're playing that evening. It's all of it. It's everything. It's now, it's then, it's everything.
Yeah.
Openly, I won't be able to thoroughly have the comparison of Iboga with ayahuasca. If somebody wants to jump in, that would be lovely. I have sat with or laid with Iboga, laid for 48 hours with Iboga, and it was quite an experience and a very profound on one aspect in my life, which was deep. My experience with ayahuasca is layered. I had a friend who once said, I felt like I got a list of here are things to walk this path with. And Iboga was a very profound one thing change for me, but I don't have enough experience to be able to speak to Iboga. I don't know if Daniel or Blessa or Danny or anyone on our team wants to take this one, or perhaps chime in with you after the call.
I might be able to offer some insights. So
thank you.
I have always had Iboga in my field and a deep respect for that medicine, and I've never felt called to receive it. So it never entered my system. I've never observed intelligence, but as a guardian of the plant medicines in general. And I've spoken to both deep people in my circle, and I know many of the best healers with Iboga in the world. I know the first woman who ever brought Iboga to the United States. It's hard to say that there's anything that's more internal than ayahuasca. Iboga might be. All right. So ayahuasca can be deeply internal and external. So I could see that comparison, but ayahuasca can be a deeply internal side as well. With Iboga, from my peripheral experience, there tends to be a bit of a heavy energy that comes on the backside of it sometimes through integration. So what I encourage you, and I respect your diligence as well, but don't forget the diligence of joy. Right? Joy and laughter and happiness. It's I I've seen plenty of people come from Iboga, and in my opinion, Iboga is the #1 medicine in the world for addiction recovery and habit training. Ayahuasca is remarkable. It's the fastest car on the earth. The Iboga is a rocket ship from outer space when it comes to its ability to do this. Now, when it comes time for you to see if you have a calling to ayahuasca, I'm not a moral authority, but once again, I've brought more people to plant medicine than anybody I've ever met. There tends to be there's 4 things that always need to be true to me as the gatekeeper of the space, for me to feel as the gatekeeper, that are true to you as the potential attendant. 1 is that the calling is purely that, say, sorry, I'm forgetting everybody's name, but say if Not Okay wants to bring Calvin along with him to a retreat, that doesn't work, right? Everybody has to have their own independent motivation. And a good question to ask yourself once you go into that time is, am I called to receive ayahuasca under the right circumstances given the moment time? That is such a qualified question, but if that's not a yes, stay in discovery and feeling into it. That doesn't even mean you ever get to go, right? If you ask yourself, does anybody want to have your dream home on a long enough timeline under the right circumstances? Yes. Doesn't mean you'll get it. Doesn't mean you'll work for it. Doesn't mean you'll ever build it. It just means you have an independent connection to that being a beneficial thing to do. When you throw under the right circumstances, behold might not even be the right circumstances for you or on the timeline. It's just their connection to the medicine. A word about that is sometimes that connection doesn't feel awesome. Sometimes we got stuff to work on. Oftentimes we're going to Iboga, and if you like, sometimes when I go to ayahuasca, it's like, man, I have to go. I talk to so many of you guys. I collect energy. It's a responsibility to go on Be Wash Clean. Other times it's rhythm. So sometimes it feels like, oh man, but it's true. And other times it feels like, oh yeah. So, but it's innate to me. I also have connection to ayahuasca all over the world. So I always ask myself that same question. Am I truly called independently to receive this medicine? Secondarily, am I physically suited to receive this medicine? Iboga is probably one of the only medicines on the face of the earth that has thicker requirements for entrance physically than ayahuasca does. Probably the only one that I've ever heard of. So not only faith in my physicality, but am I willing to prepare? This typically revolves with a few things. You're already doing well on these, it sounds like. 1, are there any medications that have gone in my system that would be contraindicated and dangerous, or just diluting to the experience? 2, are there recreational substances in this system that would be contraindicated to the experience or simply diluting to the experience? 3, is my physical body in reasonable shape? I'm a kickboxer for 25 years of Muay Thai. If I got kicked in the head and got a severe concussion last week, I'm not going to go to ayahuasca for a while after the concussion subsides. I'm in good health, but it's my cardio. If I recently come off of antibiotics, I live in Mexico, catch food poisoning, right? Because my body trains from antibiotics. Is there any issues with my organs? Of course, I kind of know these things intrinsically. Are my organs intact? Is my brain intact? Is my heart intact? And then as an individual, a person should check themselves. Is their psychology intact, right? Or like somebody who's experiencing schizophrenia should never receive ayahuasca. Or sometimes bipolar would be heavily dependent depending on the extent of that. If somebody's under the age of 30 and they have a family history of psychosis, it's also something to take a look at as well. Then, so like mind, body, spirit, what's going in the body, how is the body doing, how is the mind doing? Am I ready to not be ready with all of these things? Then, do I have the ability to commit the goal? Do I have the ability to, say there's a retreat on January 1st you want to go to? Can I really do that? Could you literally go to Disney World at that time? Do you have competing obligations that would make it so your consciousness is pulled in a different direction? You got to be posting on YouTube or the end, you know what I mean? Is there a stock trade that you're in the middle of doing that's in the middle of a retreat that's make or break on your income for the next year? Or do you reasonably have the time, barring extenuating circumstances, where you can devote it to a sacred experience that you know with Iboga, you have no choice, right? But do we have the ability, barring extenuating circumstances, to fully drop into us? Put the phone down. We have a digital detox requirement in our space, but even if you go to a place that doesn't, try to require that for yourself to the extent that being away from your digital obligations is. Then do I have some reasonable time for integration on the back end? Am I leaving a retreat or a ceremony on a Sunday and going to, I don't know, a 500-person family reunion on a Monday, blasting open my central nervous system, right? Do you go right from delivering a baby into a heavy metal concert? No, you give it time for yourself. Of the practical thing, time is the thing. Do I have the motivation to prioritize some time? Then am I in alignment with where I'm going? The nuance. With the whole, this is important to us. We have codes of conduct, we have standards, there's practical stuff like how our people, what the countries think. And there's more nuanced stuff, like who's taking care of me? What are the rules? What am I held to? Right? And you'll never know every detail about that, but you should at least like kind of feel the general pillars of what's good. You don't want to know every detail because of all the magic. But am I called to the medicine? Am I physically and psychologically ready to not be ready? Am I practically capable of accessing this place? Can I travel? Do I have a passport? Is it expiring? Simple stuff. And am I in line with the general nuances of where I'm going? The best way to align with the general nuances of where you're going, like I was saying before, is people operate differently. We're not the only good medicine organization in the world. Like, there's people doing benevolent work everywhere. But if you've never accessed the medicine, I would be, one of the best things you could do for yourself is talk to a person who's right? Because this will give you the understanding that there are standards. It should feel more like getting into college than it feels like buying a car. Right? Like, do I meet the general qualifications without feeling like I'm talking to someone? Are they concerned at these standards? Because then you'll intrinsically feel that way in the space as well. Nobody has to ask you to believe anything. Feel it. So hopefully that helps. But feel into that feeling. Like the questions, am I called to receive this medicine on a long enough timeline? Could I have the right circumstances to do so?
Yeah.
And then everything, without that, nothing has any power.
You could get on that flight and you could leave your wallet at home. We are going to pick you up from the airport. If you stay the night, if you stay a few days, of course, but from the time we pick you up, bring you to the retreat center, it's all inclusive. And so, and then when your retreat is over, we take you, whether it's to the airport or your next destination. Hopefully you stay for a couple days to ground in, but you could not spend anything else on retreat. If, for example, all retreats come with a complimentary massage, if you recognize that that is deeply beneficial for your nervous system, or that's deeply beneficial for your aches and pains, then you could purchase additional massages, for example. And so those would be the areas in which you might spend, but everything is included as is. It is a complete retreat. Nobody would feel like they're missing out without purchasing anything else. We designed it that way. We actually have had a person leave their wallet at home on accident. One thing led to another. They even had to tell the person picking them up they have no money and pay them later. They got here, no wallet, went home, and they were perfectly fine. All is included.
I think for our work, better than the term all-inclusive, it's non-transactional. There's almost nothing you can buy, right? Like, nobody's gonna try to sell you anything. There's too much of a power imbalance in there anyway. You can also buy laundry service for your clothes. It's like $30, right? For laundry service, I think. And there's like a little thematic art stand too, with like, like little stuff.
We really support our Indigenous communities. And so, for example, you will see handmade earrings, but those are all just artisan pieces to pick if you fall in love with them and want to support somebody or come home with a gift.